M1 Abrams tank armor. That's ceramic plating everywhere. It cannot pass through ceramic.
No, what? How? What?
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Fake Tank Friday. As you have seen from the intro, today we will be looking at the M1 Abrams in the Netflix movie Spectral. I watched this movie recently, and although I did include it in one of my older top 10 videos I made, I had not actually watched the full movie. For the most part, we'll be looking specifically at the tank, but towards the end, I need to share some thoughts I had on the lore shown in the film, which really left me confused. Anyways, let's look at the tank. Despite clearly being built on the T-55 tanks, these are referred to as M1 Abrams by the main character. We'll talk about why that was an unnecessary thing to do given the film's setting later, but I'll just refer to the tank as the Spectral tank to preserve my sanity. One last thing, for those of you who may have looked at the IMDb errors list for the movie, you may have seen someone say that the tanks were actually T-72s. Whoever wrote out that error clearly doesn't have too much knowledge on tanks because we can see from the layout of the road wheels that these are definitely T-55s. The scene the tanks appear in shows them arrive at the square before engaging the invisible enemies with their primary armaments. We see 3 tanks enter, one of which has been modified to include a large spotlight on the roof. While waiting for the helicopters to extract the soldiers, some are killed and the tanks themselves are battered fairly hard by one of the creatures. We'll get more into that in a minute. The scene itself was indeed filmed with real tanks on location in the city of Budapest in Hungary. I can't confirm this, but one tank seems to have a tow bar of some sort on its front, which may indicate at least one tank was towed rather than driven. I'm not overly familiar with the logistics of filming movies, but this could have been done for a variety of reasons, including to prevent having loud tank engines running in a city, potentially disturbing residents. If you happen to know more about the specifics of this filming, let us know in the comments. Overall, the visual modifications made to the vehicle, either on purpose or by accident, actually resemble real-world modernization projects for the T-55 pretty closely. The added side skirts and frontal armor, for example, are a common theme with upgrade packages, whether that be the T-55 AMs or even the more exotic ones like the Jaguar concept. Curiously, the original concept art for the movie is completely different, showing a Leopard 2 with added weaponry. We're not told what the primary armament of the tank is in the movie, but the added light on the roof is explained a bit more. This is a modified FLIR camera which allows the invisible enemies which attack the soldiers to be visible to the naked eye. This is similar to a real-world infrared illuminator like that seen in World War II, although those are not visible to the naked eye and require night vision devices. The armor of the vehicle is confirmed to contain ceramic armor, meaning the Spectral tank would be resistant to chemical ammo like Heat FS. Obviously, this is because the tank was intended to be a stand-in for the Abrams, but ignoring that, the vehicle is fairly realistic in my opinion. Speaking of which, the reason for choosing the Abrams as what the vehicle is meant to be is weird to me. Although it does connect to the US forces we follow, the plot takes place in the country of Moldova. This would make the appearance of a Soviet tank such as the T-55 completely plausible even if they historically were not fielded by that nation. With many Eastern European nations still in possession of T-55s with varying upgrade packages, these could be bought or gifted to the forces, especially considering the US is directly involved in the conflict, meaning financial support is quite likely. Overall, I think these Vismod tanks, although a bit cursed, are actually fairly well done, with the main thing that ruins them being the insistence on making them stand-ins for the Abrams rather than just saying tanks. This is also where some of my questions regarding the plot of the movie start to come in, particularly the damage done to the tank by the ghost-like entities. The next part of this video will include some spoilers for the movie, so if you haven't seen it and want to, pause the video and go do that first. Alright, you have been warned. We're shown in the movie these invisible creatures are capable of instantly killing a soldier on contact. As the plot progresses, we begin to slowly be shown weaknesses they have, such as an inability to pass over iron shavings or go through ceramic. Although this connects to the scientific theory of the Bose-Einstein condensate the film writers went with, to me it also directly contradicts some of the things we see in the movie. Now bear in mind, I'm just a guy who makes tank videos on the internet and not a true film critic, but I really felt like this was worth sharing since some of you might have thought the same thing. When we look at the Spectral tank being attacked by the condensate creature, somehow it is able to lift a roughly 40+ ton tank several feet off the ground and cause a significant dent in the armor plate. Yet earlier in the movie, we're told that iron shavings were enough to slow the creatures, and later are told that ceramics completely stopped them. This is on top of the fact that when soldiers are killed by them, the bodies merely drop to the ground rather than being tossed like rag dolls. With the mention of ceramics, it also bears the question of why the soldiers' armor seems to be useless against the creatures. Now obviously they could go around them, but common military armor plates would contain ceramic, so in theory this should at least somewhat hinder the creatures if they were to strike that. The tank smashing was most likely just done to look cool, so I won't criticize it too much, but when I saw that in the movie, I just found it confusing, especially with the later explanation. The armor of the tank being made of steel would mean it inherently contains iron, which would slow the creatures, and then the ceramic would stop them, meaning the tanks should be basically impervious to the attacks from most angles depending on the armor. Anyways, that's just something that had me a bit perplexed, and perhaps you felt the same way. If you agree with me or think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, tell me what fictional tank you'd like to see me cover next. Hopefully this video won't get smacked by the copyright system for the inclusion of several clips from the movie, but that's just a risk that we have to take when covering these sorts of topics. That's all I have for you today though, so thanks as always to my YouTube members and to all of you for watching. I hope to see you all in my next video.